Growing up, my brother and I were always in each other's lives, yet we couldn't have been more different. From the outside, it seemed like we shared everything: the same household, the same parents, the same environment. But the truth was, we rarely saw eye to eye. There was always a gap between us, a distance that I couldn't quite understand. I was the older sibling, the one who always had her act together, at least on the surface. I was diligent, dependable, and eager to please. I kept to the rules, followed the path my parents laid out for me, and prided myself on being the good daughter. My brother, on the other hand, was the wild card. He was the one who would challenge authority, resist the rules, and frankly, seemed to care very little about what others expected of him. While I was focused on academics and making everyone proud, he was more interested in exploring life on his own terms, often with a reckless disregard for the consequences. When we were younger, our differences often led to conflict. We bickered over trivial things, fought over the television remote, and argued about everything from household chores to our parents' attention. I couldn't understand why he acted the way he did, and he couldn't understand why I seemed to take everything so seriously. I felt that he was making life harder for everyone by pushing boundaries, and he felt that I was too uptight and judgmental. But as we both grew older, something began to shift, something that I hadn't expected at all. When I turned 22, I went through a period of self-reflection. I had just graduated from college, and everything in my life seemed uncertain. I was questioning my path, wondering if I had made the right choices, and feeling as though I had lost touch with who I was. It was during this time that I found myself looking at my brother in a new light. I had always thought of him as the rebellious one, the one who never took life seriously. But as I observed him more closely, I realized that he had his own struggles, his own fears, and his own way of coping with the pressures of life. He wasn't just acting out for attention. He was grappling with his own set of challenges, ones that I had been too quick to dismiss. His carefree attitude wasn't a rejection of responsibility. It was his way of shielding himself from the overwhelming expectations placed on him, just as my drive to please everyone had been my way of coping. This realization didn't come overnight. It wasn't like a light bulb went off, and I suddenly understood everything about him. But slowly, over time, I began to open my heart to the idea that we were both struggling in our own ways. We had both been conditioned by the same family, the same environment, but we had dealt with that conditioning in different ways. I had sought to follow the rules, to be the model child, while he had rebelled against them in an attempt to find his own way. The turning point came one evening when we were both home for the holidays. Our parents were busy preparing dinner, and the house was quiet. I found myself sitting in the living room, scrolling through my phone, when my brother came in and sat down next to me. He didn't say anything at first, just sat there, fiddling with his phone. Then, without any warning, he said, "You know, I've been thinking a lot about life lately." I didn't know how to respond. I had grown accustomed to our silences, to the unspoken tension between us, but something in the way he said it made me pause. I put my phone down and looked at him, waiting for him to continue. "I've been doing some things that I'm not proud of," he said quietly. "I know I haven't made it easy on you or anyone else. But I've been struggling, and I'm not sure what to do about it. I know I don't always show it, but I care. I just don't always know how to deal with everything." It was one of the most honest things he had ever said to me, and it was the first time I realized that all these years I had been so focused on my own struggles and my own need for validation that I hadn't stopped to listen to him. He had his own pain, his own battles, and just like me, he had been trying to find his place in the world. We sat there for what felt like hours talking, not just about the surface-level issues we'd fought about in the past, but about our childhood, our fears, and the pressures we felt. We shared stories of our past that we had never discussed before, each of us gaining a better understanding of where the other had come from. I began to see my brother not just as the frustrating person I had always thought he was, but as someone who had been navigating his own journey, just like me. That night, for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of connection with him. It wasn't about agreeing with everything he did or pretending we hadn't had our differences, but it was about recognizing that we both had been carrying our own burdens. I realized that my brother wasn't the enemy. He was someone I needed to support just as much as he needed me. Since that conversation, our relationship has changed. We still have our moments, our disagreements, but there's a deeper level of understanding between us now. I've learned to appreciate his individuality, to respect the ways in which he navigates the world, and to stop trying to change him to fit my expectations. And I've learned to be more open with him about my own struggles, to show him that I'm not as perfect as I once tried to appear. We've started to build a new kind of relationship, one that's based on mutual respect, honesty, and empathy. I no longer see my brother as the person who disrupts my life, but as someone I can turn to when I need support. I've come to realize that families aren't perfect, and relationships don't always follow the path we expect. But they can be mended, strengthened, and built upon, as long as we're willing to listen, understand, and accept each other for who we are. Looking back, I now see that our relationship was never about fixing each other, but about accepting each other's flaws, struggles, and differences. It was about realizing that, despite all the tension and miscommunication, we were both trying to navigate life in our own way. And it was in this realization that we found the opportunity for growth, understanding, and a bond that goes beyond our differences.